Morning, David.
Good morning, Christopher. We're on our own today. The good Reverend Debs is not feeling too good, so she's not available for being with us. And so it's you and me. It's you and me.
Yeah. Get well soon, Deb.
Yeah, go well soon, Deb. Good to see you. Thank you to everyone who keeps on sending us nice messages and things and letting us know they're out there and watching us and viewing. I saw all the usual names and things last time. Although the Archdeacon of Ceredigion, if you're impressed with the pronunciation, aren't you there, Chris? I can see.
Have you been to Wales, David?
I've been to Wales, yes, and Ceredigion, the Archdeacon, Eileen, who's a farmer. She gets up at 5 o'clock every morning, milks with her husband, and then she goes off and does her archdeacon side jobs.
You'll be giving our Archdeacon ideas about what we've got to do next.
Yeah, we've got it for you. I've got you down for delivering milk before you start your job, and I'll clean a few windows or something just to help them out. But there we are. The Archdeacon was lovely and very, very friendly down there. And we went down, Joe and I, for Fiona, the Blessed Fiona's licensing to a new job as vicar of Aberporth, Blindporth, and Eglwys, somewhere else or other. And three small parishes, right on the Bay of Cardigan. It was beautiful. And so we drove down, went to the service, stayed overnight, drove back again. And it was gorgeous down there. So, yes, so it's been an exciting time the last few days, very, very busy, as ever. And have you been busy, Chris?
Yes, it's been very busy with schoolwork and assemblies, and I've got baptisms to plan, weddings to plan. It's just been a very busy week. And then this afternoon I've got a meeting with Eep Centre for the Arts. So lots of very varied work. And of course in Loaders, the Scarecrow Festival started this week.
Oh, there you are, if you're in this part of the world, and do go down to Loaders to the Scarecrow Festival. Is there a scarecrow imitating you somewhere, Chris?
Not that I've seen yet. Unless they think I'm the one where the magician is cutting somebody in half on stage.
No, I would not have thought so. That sounds a very good scarecrow. Thank you for telling me. I think I will bring Jane down to have a look over the next few days. It could be a good thing to do. Where do we park and do you have to pay, or do you just walk around? Or
no, it's completely free. Park wherever you like. There's a map in the phone box by the school, or a map in each of the pubs. 42 scarecrows, I think. It's about a mile and a half. It'd be a mile and a half walk from one end to the other to see all of them.
Heavens above.
And I haven't seen them yet.
Scarecrows, there you are, dear viewer. If you're around, the Loaders Scarecrow Trail is alive.
Yeah, and that's a good plug. The theme is the circus this year.
The circus, and will the beloved Miss Dr. Nardone be playing music to accompany your visit, or
I don't know, but when I walked past Dr. Nardone's house, his scarecrow was not on display, and he came out and said, "Sorry, I haven't finished it yet."
Oh.
So he missed the deadline for the first evening of the Scarecrow Festival. But I'm sure it's up there.
Poor excuse. I'll have to come just to check Dr. Nardone's scarecrow. So all in all, it's a busy week. Yes, like you, I've been doing a bit of wedding work, particularly over licenses with brides. Yep. So I've been a lot of phone calling and emailing. That's been good. And a lot of funeral arrangements. Again, we've had a sudden new rush on funerals. We thought they'd stopped for a bit, but we've had 3 or 4 funerals come in again. So we're busy with that. And services, trying to cover services, because one of our dear retired clergy is not very well, so that's on the agenda. So all in all, it's been a very busy week, and we're now doing this. And after I've done this, I want to take the day off, because I didn't have a day off last week.
Good. You must keep up with your days off.
You must. You must. Well, it's been very interesting today because our reading has got all kinds of strange names, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's why we've delegated it up to somebody with the elevated position of rural dean to teach us how to pronounce Parthians and
All these nice long words. Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit like they look like a bit like the Welsh signs I was reading. You know, Ceredigion, Difference, Mine somewhere, Minecraft.
You're already speaking a foreign language.
Yeah, I am.
I've gone back to English this week because I had my German friends with me last week, so I spent last weekend speaking German most of the time.
Well done. Jochen Vau.
Although it wasn't very good German because I don't really speak it, but they don't speak it. So
I did German at school, but I couldn't say I'm any good at it. I can probably say more Welsh words. I'm one of these people who can't have conversational language. Although at the service I could follow the hymns that were in Welsh because I know the kind of pronunciations and the way the words go together. But don't ask what the words mean. I've no idea what half them mean, other than the fact that they were printed in English side by side. But there we are. When in Wales, as they say, when in Wales.
When in Wales, that's right.
Eat a leek. I think that's it. Shall we have a pause? Let's have a pause. Right. This reading is about Pentecost, and it's taken from the second chapter of the Acts of the Apostles. When the day of Pentecost had come, they were all together in one place. And suddenly from heaven there came a sound like a rush of a violent wind, and it filled the entire house where they were sitting. Divided tongues as of fire appeared among them, and a tongue rested on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages as the Spirit gave them ability. Now, there were devout Jews from every nation under heaven living in Jerusalem. And at this sound the crowd gathered and was bewildered because each one heard them speaking in the native language of each. Amazed and astonished, they asked, "Are not all these who are speaking Galileans? And how is it that we hear each of us in our own native language? Parthians, Medes, Elamites, and residents of Mesopotamia, Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, Egypt and the parts of Libya belonging to Cyrene, and visitors from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, Cretans and Arabs. In our own language we hear them speaking about God's deeds of power. All were amazed and perplexed, saying to one another, 'What does this mean?' But others sneered and said, 'They are filled with new wine.' But Peter, standing with the 11, raised his voice and addressed them, 'Men of Judea, and all who live in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and listen to what I say. Instead, these are not drunk as you suppose, for it is only 9 o'clock in the morning. No, this is what was spoken through the prophet Joel. In the last days it will be, God declares, that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Even upon my slaves, both men and women, in those days I will pour out my spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will show portents in the heaven above, and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and smoky mist. The sun shall be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood, before the coming of the Lord's great and glorious day. Then everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved." That dramatic enough for you, Chris?
Oh, brilliantly read, David. Good.
I think I avoided the dangerous word.
What's the dangerous word?
We got Cretans right.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Not correct. Crete and not correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And many times I've heard it mispronounced in church. But there we are.
I'm sure we all have. I was enjoying that word and thinking how true it is. It says they are filled with new wine. Took me back to that. Is it a Graham Kendrick song? Come in and taste the new wine, the wine of the King of God.
Yeah.
Might be a bit.
It reminds me
of some, but.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of the day I broke my leg 8 years ago now in the churchyard, and I managed to crawl with my leg and ankle all mashed up to from round the back of the church to where I could be seen, and it was raining and snowing and blowing, and I called a lady who was walking some dogs and said, "I broke my leg. Can you go in the church and find somebody?" And she went in and found Joe and said, "The man on the floor at the back of the church, I think he's drunk." And it couldn't have been because it was only 9 o'clock in the morning, Chris. So that always reminds me of that fatal day. Actually, pain while it's being read.
The secrets of our rural dean are coming out now.
Yeah, you've got it.
Morning.
And it was, I think he's drunk. But there we are. As it happened, on that occasion, I wasn't. So that was okay.
But isn't it great having all those names to read?
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my favourite readings.
You know, it's almost every place in the world.
That's what it says at the beginning.
And it just tells us. It just tells us that we're not here to be. Jesus isn't exclusive for people.
Yeah.
He's here for everybody. So whichever town you come from, whichever parish in the Bridport team, the Beaminster team, or the Egerton Colmers team that you live in, we could have sat and read out all 30-odd parishes.
We could.
30-odd churches that are listed there. And that's who God has come for. And that's who gets the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely. Of course, Pentecost Sunday, which is this Sunday, which is 50 days after Easter, I think. Pentecost means 50 days, isn't it? 50. And
50 days.
There's 40 days, isn't it? I may be wrong. I stand to be corrected.
I'll Google it.
Never mind. You Google it while we talk. However, Pentecost is often referred to as the birthday of the church, isn't it?
Well, it is. And as I said in my sermon last week, some say Pentecost, the coming of the Holy Spirit, is the birthday of the church. Others say Ascension Day is the birthday of the church because that's when Jesus ascended and left us to go. And as thy kingdom come has been saying for the last 10 days between Ascension and Pentecost, that is the time that we watch and pray. And the church begins with watching and praying. And others say, of course, the birth of Jesus was the birth of the church because we worship Jesus Christ. So that's the start of our education and the start of peoples of followers of Jesus Christ. So you can take your pick, is my opinion.
You're throwing all kinds of alternatives in here, Chris. That's good. Dear viewer, you can really think on this. Let us know when which day you'd like to celebrate. It's a bit like the Queen. You could have 2 birthdays, couldn't you?
You could have.
The King. Do we think the King would have 2 birthdays?
Yeah, he may well do.
Because his own birthday's in November, a bit cold to be trooping the colour, so perhaps June will stay as the official. Who knows? But yeah, it's a great story, and of course we often forget, as just an ordinary person in the pew, if we're not careful, that while the gift is now being poured out on all of us, he'd already given the disciples the gift of the Holy Spirit as a forerunner of what was to come, hadn't he?
Yes.
So the disciples had already got this gift to help them and to guide them and to work with them, and now we get it. And on Sunday, I was saying in preparation, because I was being a very good and obedient priest, I actually took up the challenge from Bishop's Council to preach on the new strap word and part of the diocesan vision that is going to come out, making Jesus known here and now. And so I was able to twist a little bit of that into the fact that, the Holy Spirit's going to help us to do that, because we need the help to make Jesus known.
Oh, you are such a good and loyal, faithful servant, dear Reverend David.
I am. Yeah, I know. I like the brownie points. I've got to keep on keeping the good books. But there we are. Have you found your Pentecost? I can see you're still looking.
Oh, it's 40 days. 40 days from Christmas to Ascension, and then 10 days Ascension to Pentecost.
So it's 50 days in total. I thought Pente meant 50, but there we are. So the gift of the Holy Spirit, all those people, they all hear it. And what are they going to do with it? That's the key, isn't it? Because what are we, after Sunday, when we receive this gift again as a remembrance or to remind us, what are we going to do with the Holy Spirit? I'm sure that's been a conundrum.
Well, let's hope that people sit there and say, actually, this message of Jesus is right and good, and we are not just going to turn around and say, oh, there's another drunk vicar who speaks. Yeah.
Well, speaking in tongues is a difficult thing. I've never done it personally, but people, I think, thought I was doing it when I first moved here, because they didn't seem to be able to understand what I was saying and kept asking me to repeat it.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Chris. Good, well prompted. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
I thought I'd get that one.
Good. And so, but that for me is always a question. God sent us this great gift to work with us, to guide us, to protect us, to comfort us, to help us. But what do we do with it? And that's the very importance about making Jesus known to a degree. Why are we not confident with the gift of the Spirit filling us to go out and talk to people about why Jesus is important to us?
But that was a conversation I had a couple of weeks ago. Somebody was saying, I went to church to a baptism and this happened, and I can't believe the vicar was so gracious in it. And somebody else just turned around and said, that's what Christians do. But to them, it made no difference to their lives. So they know what Christianity was about, but their answer is, it's really good, but it means nothing to me. But I'm glad other people are nice. And almost that's the challenge, because we've got here that big list of names showing that Jesus is for way beyond just the holy little huddle of people who come to church on a Sunday. And it's actually for everybody in each and every village, which in itself is great news, because it's not racist, it's not exclusive, it's not clubby, it's for everybody in each little village, which is why it's important that these churches in these small villages stay open and keep worshipping. And we're there. And the challenge is, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I mean, the key to as we know, Chris, and I'm sure some of the viewers have heard us in various conversations before talk and allude to, there is a problem in the Church of England, and I'm sure that other churches of denominations at the moment, of declining attendance. And the countries, the rural church is particularly troubled by that, because if you're in a very tiny community of only, say, 120 people, and you've got 10, 15 people who were regular, faithful people 5 years ago, and they've kind of started to diminish or get older and aren't able to do and uphold, there becomes a problem. But everybody, no, let me rephrase that, not everybody. If we were to say we were going to close one of our village churches because we just can't uphold it anymore, and when the public meeting is held, as it happened in one of my churches 18 months ago, we know what the response will be. Everyone comes out demanding their birthright as Anglicans to keep the church open, so long as they're not asked to do anything about it. Now, the church, for me, in the countryside, anywhere in the country, but particularly in the rural church, which is where I've specialised all of my ministry, is important because it is a spiritual centre, a spiritual focus, or a focus for the Holy Spirit's presence in that community. And people see that there is something special about it. And I rarely get any animosity towards the church per se. And yesterday at one of our PCC meetings that I was at in one of our smaller villages, somebody was saying to me that they'd been talking to a former regular church attender, who we see now Christmas and Easter, and saying, we do miss you, and we really wish you'd be able to come and join us more often. And the response they got wasn't nasty or angry or anything like that. The response was, "Oh, but my life has changed. I'm so busy, I haven't got time for that anymore." And we had a talk about that, because the sadness for me about that isn't that the person, well, the sadness is that the person doesn't see how by renewing yourself by, in worship or through the spiritual side of your life, it actually gives you greater way of living your life and to make good the time that you're finding busy with already. And I think everybody, regardless of faith or no faith, needs a time when you just stop and be.
I agree. I actually did that in my school assemblies this week. I just lit a Paschal candle and stopped for a minute to sit and reflect. And all the children was absolutely still for 60 seconds. Just to sit and reflect and be, and to take a bit of time, because just to get away from all the world's rushing. Because we're in a world where we rush and rush and rush, and we've got to do more and more and more, and we've got to add another 10 different villages to that big long list we had in that reading from Acts. But actually, at times, God just wants you as you, not you for what you do. But also, it's a note I've got on my whiteboard, which will be a theme for an article I write somewhere, is the best gift you can give yourself is community. Because we need to meet with other people. We need to meet with other like-minded people. So if we think God's important, although that means we sit and be, but we also need to be with other people who also think God is important and Jesus is important, which is church every Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about just taking the time out in a busy world. Now, it may be for some just sitting by by the side of a stream contemplating. It may be taking your dog for a walk. But we all need some time. And as a Christian leader, I recommend just meeting with others to just pray. It's 1 hour a week, isn't it? Or if you're lucky, as I did last Sunday, one of our services, only 50 minutes because the hymns were short. So it's just it's just that short time out each week to renew your batteries. In our case, as Christians, spiritual batteries. But going on down that reading before we start, there are some lovely statements, aren't there? I love the one about. Let me find it. I've lost it. Oh yeah. I'll pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. There's something beautiful about that kind of prose, isn't there? From Joel, taken from the prophecy of Joel. The thought of, as you get older, you don't have visions, but you have dreams. And I think we all need that time, don't we? We go through life, and this is part of what Bishop Stevens tried to do with his strapline about making Jesus known. Now, it is a vision about what we as Christians feel is so important for people's lives, that you do get to know Jesus. And I often say to my congregations, I'm sure others do, if we aren't prepared to do it, who else is going to? And somehow I think communities around church, it is important, your statement about community, getting together, meeting with other like-minded people, or at least people have a similar particular reason for being in that place. Then why do people turn up at Ask as well, for instance, or live there? it's a beautiful place.
Yep.
You know, the views are stunning. It's quiet, I would imagine. It's got a sense of community. You've got a nice village hall, and I'm sure things go on there. And once you get into it, you realise that you are part of a gathering of like-minded people who live there because it's the place it is. And church should be like that. We go there because we're amongst like-minded people who want to be able to spread, or should be able to spread, the message that Jesus changes your life through the gift of the Holy Spirit, which we're about to be receiving again at this Pentecost time. You know, and the reading for me is one of my favourites throughout the whole of the year. I think it's probably even, for me, even more of a favourite than that of John's prologue at Christmas, although a lot of people love it. It's got deep meaning, of course it has. But this idea of people standing together, all from different places, all with one common goal of receiving God's gift to us, to support us, as I say, love us, to walk alongside us, to comfort us, to give us new life, even if it is 9 o'clock in the morning and we seem to be acting strange in some of our churches. But we're there for one purpose.
So, Devon, if you hadn't noticed, David and I are really excited about Pentecost this week.
We are. We are.
Such a rich time in the church's calendar. It's so exciting to be hearing these dreams and these visions and these Holy Spirit coming upon us. It's a great time to be. So do come and join us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there we are, Chris. So there we are. All is good. And Debs, as we said earlier, get better. And those who regularly find us, you know where to find us. If you're a first-time viewer, well, you found us anyway. Just come back again to the same place. But if you want to find out more about what we're doing in the churches, you can look on various websites for the Exeter to Coleman's team, or to the Bridport team, or the Bride Valley team, or the Golden Cap team, or even the Beaminster team. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter and TikTok for you, Chris, and Instagram and all kinds of places. Just type in the name of the team or the church you want, and you'll find out all about us and all that we do, and our dream as old men, you and me, Chris. Yeah. Our dream as old men for wanting to find people and to tell them all about Jesus here and now.
Amen.